to midterm access to his or her benefits of a sum not exceeding 20%. Now, not exceeding has been deleted and replaced with of, meaning that it is mandatory, whether you want it or not, you must requisition for 20%. The reason why we had said not exceeding was because we envisaged some people might say, I do not want all my 20%. So you should give room for someone who do not want 20%. Now, if the committee feels that the word not exceeding can be abused by the minister, we can now create exception. And I would propose to add the word except where the member voluntarily requests the sum below 20%. So that we provide for that discretion for a member who might not want to withdraw up to 20 or the actual 20% to be having leverage to withdraw.
What you are proposing is to just come back to what the bill says. So why change it?
I would want it to be like that, but the argument from the committee member was that if you say not exceeding, then the minister can have discretion, and even someone who wants 20%, he or she might use that discretion to even deny someone who wants 20%. That's why I wanted to satisfy their doubt that let us leave the principle of 20% to stand alone. Then we provide for exception. So I leave it to the House, but for me, I want the House to understand that there might be people who will not come and say, I want 20%. I want maybe 10. I want 15. If we leave it the way the committee is proposing, then it ties everybody to demand for 20%. So if it so pleases the House, we can retain what is in the bill. But if it pleases the committee that we make the doubt settle, then we make exception. I thank you.
Honorable members, the provision as is in the bill gives the latitude to a member who wants midterm access to apply for 5%, 10%, or 20%, but not exceeding 20%. Now, the fear of the committee is that the minister can restrict that. If the minister did that, would be acting outside the provision of the Principal Act, in which case that regulation would be nullified. If that is comfortable enough, the provision as is in the bill would be satisfactory. Is that okay? Chair?
Chair, when we go to 24A3, the minister is given the prerogative in consultation with the board to prescribe these terms, and that is where our fear came from, that she or he may use this discretion to even go to determine the amount, the percentage that should be accessed.
That will be outside what the law says. The minister has not been given that power. Where would this minister be getting these powers from? Certainly not from the Act.
The Land Attorney General had conceded to a very important fact that if the word terms and conditions can be removed, and he was okay with, so that it just reads procedure for accessing. So that what the minister will do will be to prescribe the procedure. I remember Attorney General made that is okay if the word terms and conditions, that will take care of the concern of the committee, so that the minister just brings the procedure.
Land Attorney General.
Mr. Chairman, the drafting as it is, we were discussing a provision earlier, and we discussed this. And as explained to you that any person who makes a statutory instrument which is outside the principles and the wording of the law would be illegal. The minister cannot change the terms of conditions set in the regulation, in the act. He can't change the age, he can't change the percentage, he can't change the years of contribution. However, he could ask you for a national ID, he could ask you to fill out a form. That is the term and condition that fill this form. If you want to get this money, the terms and conditions are as follows. Fill the form, bring it on Tuesday, you'll get it in 10 days. That's a term and condition. And I think this provision is good. And like the Speaker has rightly guided, any provision, any statutory instrument made by the minister which is outside this principle will be null and void. I pray, members, that we allow the provision to stand as it is.
Of course, we adopted its initial proposal in one, where we were stopping at a certain point. That one, did we take a vote on it? Did we take a vote on that one? Okay, we'll take the vote on the initial amendment as proposed by the Attorney General, where we were stopping at contribution and stopping there. So we'll take a vote on that after the leader of the opposition raises what he needs to raise.
Thank you, Right Honourable Chair. I'm seeking the comfort of the chairperson and the minister that where a member qualifies and we've left it open as to the time period within which one would access, you meet all the conditions and then you apply. What would then happen? What if you apply in January and by December the files are still moving? Are we able to move clearly in the bill and prescribe a time period within which, on application, to put pressure on the system to process members' applications faster? Because the tendencies in these funds that the delays will become so inordinate as to lose essence. Is the chairperson and minister comfortable with this gap?
Mr. Chairman, honorable members, we have tried to address that by ensuring that these regulations are done within a limited time, so that all these things are brought to the information of Parliament within the 60 days. It would be very difficult for us to legislate on the date and the process. If you deliver the statement, you take it to this desk, and then you move it here, comes back. But we will insist, as the law has, if the law is passed as it is, that in 60 days, this whole process is brought to Parliament in its completeness. And we shall also take that, your guidance, Leader of Opposition, into consideration to ensure that the process, because there's a purpose. The purpose was to help someone get out of a difficult situation. And therefore, the fund must be mindful of that. And that is why we even considered the 60 days as opposed to 90, that the minister wanted to try and expedite this process. It's been here too long. We really want to put it behind us. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we now take a decision on the matter? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there is this narrative which is about the unemployed people who have been employed for a certain period of time. They have reached 45 years, they have been saving, but they did not manage to save for a period of 10 years. And it is very many in northern Uganda. During the NGO time, they work, some of them work for 5 years, maybe 6 years, 7 years. Then at the end, from that time until now, they have not secured any employment, neither any good saving. I am in the view that this 10 years, at least saving for a period of 10 years, we should reduce it down. Then number two, I'm also in the view that for anybody who can prove with a competent authority who had saved for that period of time, and the person could not access any employment again to reach the 10 years, and the person can prove through the competent authority, like maybe the court of law, that person should be allowed to access the midterm saving.
Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, that's provided for. It's provided for in the law. If a person has been out of employment for a year and he can prove that he's not been in employment for a period, they can apply to withdraw from the fund. That's provided for. Here we're talking about people who are still in the fund who would like to get access to their money while they're still working. This is well provided for. So if you know people who are in northern Uganda who have been out of employment for 10 years and they have not been able to access their fund, then that is a challenge. That is now an administrative issue that you may want to bring to the attention of the minister so that it can be addressed, because that would be an abuse of the law as it exists.
Information.
Thank you. But now if you have put it here, that a member who is 45 years of age under Section 7, who had been saving for at least 10 years, it becomes so restrictive. Unless if that clause, which I have not read anyway, you can help us as the Attorney General, so that we see, does it cure those two areas? If it cures somebody have worked less than 10 years, and then you are just there, you could not even getting a loan alone from the commercial banks. You don't have the ability to get it. You have your saving. You are no longer getting any money to do any small business. If it has been cured somewhere, help us so that at least we see. However, if it remains the way it is now, it is so restrictive. Somebody may interpret it, no, you didn't save for 7 years. You are 45 years, but you didn't save for 7 years. For 10 years, rather.
Honorable Member, there are two issues. One are conditions that are already existing in the law as it is, how people can access money which they have contributed. One of them is where you have lost employment and now you cannot contribute, you are out of job, and all you need to prove is that I am not working, I've not been working for over a year, give me my money. That is already in the law. What this is already in the law as it is in the Mother Act. Now, what they are dealing with now, please. What they are dealing with now is to create another exception because of this COVID thing, so that those who are still contributing and are continuing to contribute can have midterm access to a percentage of what they have kept with the fund. That is what is being proposed now. Another exception to grant access to members who are contributing. So both are, the other one, the initial one of losing a job after 5 years is taken care of already in the law. Now the one that is not taken care of in the law is these ones who are still contributing, but they are depressed by the circumstances created by this COVID, and they need some help from the fund that they already have, so they are giving them midterm access. So we're dealing with the midterm access for people who are going to continue to contribute.
Thank you, Chair. I think you have made it clear now.
Thank you.
And because of that, we can proceed.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the guidance, but further, I would like to allay the fear of the workforce and actually the honorable colleagues. This bill we are making, Honorable Chair, is not a standalone. It derives this mandate from the ILO Convention. Actually, the mention is 102. And you find that this convention has a number of branches. Actually, things that are not mentioned, like maternity, if the board actually thinks otherwise, it's okay. And they say member countries are free to at least have among at least 4 or 3 or 4. And you find that things like housing, things like education, if the board seeks so fit, are okay. They are actually to go by that. So you find that I think, Mr. Chairman, this is basically to, like you said, to intervene in what? In the verge of COVID-19. Other most of these things are covered, and if the board thinks so well, they can actually go for other branches. housing, education, maternity, survivors benefit, injury, and like they do actually, Honorable Chair. That's what I wanted to input.
Honorable members, can we take a decision and move on with the rest of the bill, please? This matter, I think, is clear now. Is it clear? Okay. So let's proceed. Learned Attorney General, would you like to restate the amendment for decision in the 24A1?
24A1, I propose, reads, a member who has made contributions to the fund shall be allowed midterm access to his or her benefits accrued from the contribution, full stop.
That is the amendment proposed in 24 capital A1, which is in clause 12. I put a question to that amendment. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. Is there any other matter on clause 12? No.
Clause 12 as amended.
I now put the question that, yes, member for Northern PWD.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for the record, Achan Joyce, representing people with disabilities, and I want to give more justification on section 24.
No, we have enough justification now. We are about to take a decision. Would you like to allow us to take the decision now, unless you disagree with how far we have come?
It's okay.
It's okay? Okay. I'll now put the question that clause 12 as amended stand part of this bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Clause 13.
Clause 13, Chair.
Clause 13, Right Honorable Chair, is to insert a new clause immediately after clause 13 as follows.
No. Then we deal with clause 13 first.
Okay, Chair.
You are inserting immediately after. So clause 13, I put the question that clause 13 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. Chair.
Right Honorable Chair, the committee proposes to insert a new clause immediately after clause 13 as follows. Amendment of Section 34 of Principal Act. Section 34 of the Principal Act is amended, A, by substituting for subsection 2 the following. 2, a member's account in the fund shall be closed and his or her membership shall cease on the happening of any of the following events. A, when an immigration grant is paid. B, when a member voluntarily opts out of the fund upon receipt of the member's total age benefit under Section 20 of this Act. Or C, when a member dies and his or her survivor's benefits are paid out in accordance with Section 24 of this Act. B, by substituting for subsection 3 the following. 3, if on the closing of a member's account under subsection 2, any sum of money is standing to the credit of his or her account in the fund and is unclaimed in a subsequent period of 7 years, that money shall vest in the minister who shall pay it into the reserve account. C, by inserting immediately after subsection 3 the following. 3A, the board shall every year publish the names and details of all dormant members' accounts in the fund in a newspaper of wide circulation within Uganda. Justification 1, to allow for continued voluntary saving by a member even after the age of 60. 2, to minimize the possibility of a member's monies being prematurely deposited into the reserve account. 3, to put on notice any member or dependent with interest in the dormant account. I submit.
Is that clear, honorable members? I put the question to, yes, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. I want to thank the chairperson for the amendment. The issues related to a member before the money so lying idle becomes the property of the minister. There's no pun intended, Chair. I'm trying to imagine whether we can have, in addition to these conditions precedent, a clause for appeal in the event that the minister partakes of this erroneously, and subsequently the beneficiaries emerge after the money has gone to the account. I don't know whether the chairperson does that possibility, because I do not see provision for appeal. Because we need to take cognizance of possibilities in this fair land, yeah, that a situation can emerge and somebody is away voluntarily or involuntarily, and by the time they emerge, their humble savings have been appropriated. Chair.
Where's Budama?
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. Right Honorable Chair, I have a fundamental problem with the proposal in B. And the problem I have is a constitutional one. Right Honorable Chair, money is property. The first principle of law. Money is property. The right to private property is guaranteed by and protected by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I would want guidance of the Attorney General whether this particular proposal does not amount to expropriation, to compulsory acquisition of private property, and whether the 7-year dormancy of accounts is justifiable, demonstrably justifiable cause for expropriation.
Maybe you should also deal with the question is, where is this reserve account housed?
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a proposal from the committee, but the reserve account is in the Principal Act, and that reserve account has always existed to deposit money belonging to unknowns. It exists, it's an account.
Where?
In the bank.
In the bank or in the fund?
But right Honorable Speaker, you ask a very interesting question. I really cannot say I have a direct answer to it, but I think I should ask where this reserve account is. But to answer the Leader of Opposition's question, information.
Mr. Speaker, if I go to the question right, NSSF runs an account where they put money for the unknown. There are companies that deposit money and don't indicate the beneficiaries. There was time I think they had more than whether 200 billion or 20 billion. It is on the account of NSSF, but the beneficiaries are not indicated. So that's the money they deposit there as they begin hunting down who are the beneficiaries, because there are companies that are irresponsible. They just submit a total without indicating the beneficiaries. It is run by NSSF.
In fact, currently, NSSF reserve, suspense account for monies that are not...
No, you're talking of suspense account. We're talking about reserve account.
Yes, the reserve account is with Bank of Uganda. When this money, but NSSF has suspense account where they keep that money, which if there is no claimant, it is the minister sends it to the reserve account. And currently it is standing, it has been cleared from 7 to 2.7 billion shillings.
Thank you for the information. To answer the Leader of Opposition, I think Section 36 of the Principal Act has made provision for that situation where an error has been made. Say, I contribute my money and it is sent to the reserve account. So that one can be withdrawn if it's a mistake. They can send it back to where it's supposed to. And to answer Honorable Uelo's question, it's not expropriation. You have given it to me, I didn't take it. The only thing is that you have brought it to NSSF. NSSF doesn't know where to put it, it puts it somewhere waiting for you to come with details. I didn't take it, so it's not expropriation.
But is there a process of appeal, or the law already takes care of that?
Yes, the process of appeal is actually inbuilt, and I think that is section 30. Yeah, but there's a procedure where you have a complaint about your account. When your statement is not clear, you have a complaints process, and that process should answer that question. If your money cannot be found, that's how you appeal. But this money remains available to the fund until it is explained. It's explained away. So if a person shows up, they'll always have the money available.
Yeah, because the leader of the opposition was very worried that this money is going to the minister.
Right Honorable Chair, the Honorable Nandala Mafabi had made proposals, and it touches on this particular matter for an amendment which has been circulated on section 36 of the Principal Act, which talks about the reserve account, but also there's a proposal for section 35. So when it comes to that, he has given me permission to move this amendment. That will address some of the concerns that is being discussed now.
Very good. So can we now conclude with this particular? We're on clause, on the new clause. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, I want to introduce amendments that will define the minister as minister responsible for finance, because this clause is amending 34 of the Principal Act. And 34 in the Principal Act, under C, it says, which the principal is members' account, and C, which says, and if on the closing of the members' account by virtue of this subsection, any sum of money is standing to the credit of his or her account in the fund, the sum shall vest in the minister forthwith. And here I want to replace the word the minister to substitute it with minister responsible for finance. And on 3, any sum standing to the credit of the account of a member which has vested in the minister by virtue of subsection 2, again I want to substitute the word minister with the words minister responsible for finance. This is because matters related to members' accounts are financial matter, and therefore the minister responsible for finance shall take the lead in this particular aspect.
Chair.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Chair. I want to affirm what I said yesterday, Right Honorable Chair, that the minister in charge of Social Security and Labor will oversee all this. And it is good that she's bringing Minister of Finance as an in-section definition. So our definition for the minister in the bill still stands. I submit.
The question is, do you agree with the amendment?
I agree with her, Right Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. After the chairperson has agreed, what does West Budam have to say about this again?
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair, and I beg your indulgence to grant me some 5 minutes to deal with this issue. 2 legs. The first one, I will tell you a short story, And then the second one, I will address you.
I think you leave the story. Let's deal with the substance.
Right, Honorable Chair, the story is very relevant. It's my illustration.
You are the one who has messed it up. Now go to the real thing.
Of the proposed amendment. Right, Honorable Chair, a West African country went to the World Bank to borrow money for a project known as Rabbit Multiplication Project. For the multiplication of rabbits, there arose a dispute between two ministries, the one of finance and the one of agriculture, on where the loan should be housed. In that West African country, every time they borrowed, the loan had to be domesticated by legislation. So the people from the Ministry of Finance argued that since these were monetary matters, the rabbit multiplication project should be housed in the Ministry of Finance. The people in the Ministry of Agriculture argued that rabbit multiplication is an agricultural function and the loan should be housed in the Ministry of Agriculture. But there was also a third leg, the peasants of that country, who argued that the country didn't have to borrow in the first place. The rabbits produce without any prompting. Actually, the peasants argued that rabbits are the only animals that mate immediately after a litter. The male will be on top of the female one immediately after a litter. Now, the proposal by the Honorable Minister brings this debate exactly to that armpit. She's proposing that we debate whether funds for rabbit multiplication should be controlled by the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Gender. And I'm shocked this came from her. We have told her consistently, she is the line manager of the fund, National Social Security Fund. She is now saying that the funds that are not claimed should be managed by the Minister of Finance. And our position is that these funds should still remain a property. The Attorney General has just given us the assurance that these funds will still remain a property of NSSF, accessible to a member who may come up at any time, even after the expiry of the 7 years. I don't know why she wants to pass on this to the Ministry of Finance. The second one, the de minimis rule. Right, Honorable Chair, the Romans dealt with the interface of the law and issues, and they came up with a principle, an enduring legal principle. De minimis non curat lex. Translated into the official language of this House, of trivia, the law has no cure. These are trivial issues, small issues that we shouldn't be dealing with in this piece of legislation. Very trivial, they are in the periphery. I don't know whether my sister, and I have a lot of respect for her, cannot rise and withdraw this amendment. Or if she's suggesting that she doesn't have capacity to deal with all matters pertaining to the fund, she should also state so on record. I beg to submit.
Honorable Minister. Yes, Tororo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, recall that there was an issue that was controversial as to which minister should be responsible for this fund, the NSSF fund. And yesterday we were informed by the Attorney General that there was, after lengthy discussions involving different stakeholders, there was an agreement that the minister responsible for gender, labor and social Development will be in charge of this fund, but on matters regarding finances, it will be the Minister for Finance. So I don't know why we should spend time again discussing this matter when the Minister for Gender has come up clearly to say that this one is financial, let it be the Minister of Finance. So my brother from West Budama, I know there's talking about rabbits and finance, whether rabbits should be in finance or agriculture. For me, I think there are no rabbits here. Let us go by the minister's proposal and move on. Yes. Right on, Mr. Chairman.
The person in charge of the bill has made a proposal to improve on what she had initially proposed to Parliament.
Honorable Chair, I want to draw the attention of members to the current Principal Act 17 also has another minister. This one is payment in respect of certain government employees. And it says the Treasury may make payments to the fund in respect of those government employees specified by the minister responsible for public service who are under 55 years of age. So already it's a legal precedent that in one law, if an expertise is in another ministry, you can make a provision for the function of that minister in the law, but it will not take away the fact that the lead minister responsible for that particular aspect is the minister responsible for labor and social security. So it's harmony and placing expertise where it is, but still working together. So my brother, I am very capable, and I thank you for having the confidence. And for harmony, I think let's put the aspect where members' accounts have expertise, and we will still remain with other financial matter, which includes actually issues related to the budget for the fund, supplementary budget, the main budget, approval of the budget, overseeing the management, appointment of the board, appointment of the MD, deputy MD, and all the staff are all under the minister in charge of social security. So this is a small issue of members' accounts, borrowing, auditing, and all that is where we are proposing to take to finance.
I put the question to the amendment as proposed by the minister. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Do you know that since Bakoko Bakulu left, that money has been
the new section?
Bakoko Bakulu's time, when she left, the money was taken by
on the same.
that there was no law. So what do you want us to do? You're just provoking your sister.
Honorable members, this is a new clause. And the proposal has been amended, and we have adopted the amendments. I now put the question that the new clause as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. Honorable
Clause
Minister?
14.
I think the Honorable Minister has something.
Honorable Chair, I want to introduce insertion of new clauses before the Chair completes her amendment.
Procedure?
Mr. Chairman, I need your guidance. If the minister responsible for this bill did not introduce an amendment before the committee, whether she can at this stage introduce new content that we have not processed. I need your guidance, Mr. Speaker.
That is smuggling.
Honorable members, I'm actually not sure even where that is coming from, because we have just concluded decision on a proposal for a new clause, which we have adopted. I was waiting for the clerk to call the next point of our decision.
Clause 14.
Honourable members, we are now on clause 14. If there is any proposal before clause 14, this would be it. But if it is after clause 14 or amend or decisions on clause 14, this is the moment. Honourable Odu.
Yes, thank you, Right Honourable Chair. As I said earlier, Honourable Nandala Mafabi had sought to amend Section 36B of the Principal Act. The notice was lodged in your office and it was shared. And I want to move it on his behalf now.
No. Is it a new clause?
No, it's not a new clause.
What clause is it amending?
Section 36 of the Principal Act.
Because clause 14 is amending clause 39, section 39.
Yes, and I thought since 36 is before 39, could be addressed of the Principal Act.
Okay.
Yes. So in this, the proposal is to amend section 36B and provide that money got from unidentified persons be transferred to the consolidated fund within 1 year of collection. And the Honorable Nandala informed me that the Attorney General, he had consulted with the Attorney General and he was okay with this amendment. The justification is that any property which has no owner belongs to the state, and the state takes custody until the owner is found. Secondly, that these funds is transferred to the consolidated fund can be claimed by any one person if at such a point that person becomes available. 3, that government never ends, and hence if is the custodian of the lost property, so even if one government goes, it is safe there. Fourthly, this will avoid abuse of these funds by NSSF since it has no owner and lacks accountability. Lastly, this will assist to identify unclaimed funds by the beneficiaries. That is the proposal by Honorable Mafabi.
I'm just wondering how that is sitting with the Honorable Member for West Budama.
Thank you, Right Honorable Chair. I still have the same problem with the proposed amendment.
No, I think this is where the real issue is now.
Yeah.
The other one we sorted out. Now this one.
There's a fundamental problem with this proposed amendment, Right Honorable Chair. First, it's not true that any property which is not claimed belongs to the state. But let's look at the economics. If there are funds that are not claimed for a period of time, those funds are better off staying in the possession of NSSF. NSSF is better off trading or investing those funds and generating more income. If you send it to the consolidated fund, it becomes a property of, it becomes an income of the government. But secondly, we know where the consolidated funds derives its revenue from. It's in the Constitution. Taxes, one of them. All government monies are deposited in the consolidated fund, not members' contributions, honorable colleagues. And I request the Land Attorney General to withdraw his consent to this amendment.
He has not yet owned it. Honorable members, please, let's deal with this. I think by taking funds from the fund and transferring it to the consolidated fund, it's already wrong in principle. Because now, how do you get money from the consolidated fund? We have to propose a budget, come to Parliament, own my money, private money. Honorable Odu, would you like to reconsider this amendment?
Well, Right Honorable Chair, I informed you that I moved it on behalf of my senior colleague, Honorable Nandala Mafabi.
You took responsibility to shepherd it.
Yes, and this is subject to discussion in this House, and the purpose for which I moved it. So let members debate and take a decision.
No, we'll just put it to vote. We'll not have, We'll not have a debate on this matter. Let's put this matter to vote. The proposal is that the funds that are not claimed for the specific periods that has been stated in the amendment should revert to the consolidated fund. That is the amendment being proposed. I put the question to the amendment that the funds be transferred to the consolidated fund. Will those in favor say aye? To the contrary, no? No. The noes have it. Okay. Honorable Minister, you have any new proposals?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I have new insertions, not new amendment of the Principal Act, which would insert
procedure.
Mr. Speaker, I have already raised this matter. In fact, the standard is like the Honorable Nandala has done. You write to the Speaker, you get the amendment saturated, so we appreciate it. Is the Minister, therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, proceeding well by ambushing Parliament and bringing new things that have not been considered by anyone?
Honourable members, indeed, the Minister wrote on the 18th of November, addressed to the Speaker and Deputy Speaker, notice of amendments to the NSS Fund Amendment Bill 2021, and it was circulated and actually it's on the iPads as well. So, Honourable Minister, is stated this on the record. Would you like to receive what she's proposing and then we deal with it? So that we don't waste time on the procedural matters. Let's hear what it is. If it is something we can accept, we accept. If it's not, we reject.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I want to move new insertion, new clauses, to introduce substitution of the word minister in those sections with the words minister responsible for finance. And that would include section 31. 31 in the Principal Act deals with power to borrow. The board may, subject to prior approval of the minister, borrow money by way of loan or overdraft for the purpose of its obligation or discharging any of its function under this act upon such security and such terms and conditions related to the repayment of the principal and the payment of interest as the board deems fit. In that, I propose to replace the word minister with the words minister responsible for finance. 32 is accounts and audit, which deals with proper keeping of books and records of accounts, receipt, expenditure of monies, financial transaction of the fund, assets, liabilities of the fund. And I want to propose that also where the reference of the minister is made under that 32, also which is under 3, the minister, which is to submit to the board, submit to the minister a copy of audited statement of accounts and the minister there is replaced with the words, the minister responsible for finance. 33 is annual report. The board shall not later than 6 months after the end of each financial year make and submit to the minister a report showing the performance of the fund during that financial year. And that under 1, the minister is replaced with the word minister responsible for finance. And under 2, also the minister shall, as soon as possible after receiving the report and a copy of audited books of accounts, cause the annual statement of the accounts and the report of the board to be published in the manners the minister may direct. Also in that 2, the minister under head note para 1 and under note para 4 shall be replaced with minister responsible for finance. 34 we have already handled. 35 is interest on accounts, which gives the power to the minister to declare the interest on members' investments and accounts. And under 2, para 2, where the minister shall, after consultation with the board, declare the rate of interest for that financial year. The reference to the minister there be replaced with minister responsible for finance. 35(1) also, minister under para.
So you are proposing that in the section 35, subsections 1, 2, 3,
yes,
6, and 7,
yes,
reference
of the
minister should be substituted. In its place should be minister responsible for finance.
Yes.
That is the proposal.
Yes, and then the last one is 36, which is reserve accounts. And that is also the word minister is replaced by minister responsible for finance. I beg to
Thank you. Honorable members, I think this was the agreement. It's only implementing the decisions we took about this dual mandate on the specific issues of finance, audit, and all those things, while the overall supervisory authority remains with the Ministry of Procedure.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you and to appreciate the Minister and the guidance you are giving. Honorable Speaker, yesterday there was an issue regarding amendments, and you were guiding us on the implications of Rule 128 vis-a-vis Rule 132. And the procedural issue I seek to raise relates to whether these proposed amendments were actually discussed in the committee and form part of the report of the committee, to avoid the issue the Honorable Semuju raises of ambush. Is this just enough for the minister to say, I wrote to the speaker or the clerk, or the proposed amendments must go to the committee and they are considered with the committee? Because the Honorable from Agago yesterday also had the opportunity to canvass this matter, the implications of Rule 128 and Rule 132. What do we bring here for amendment and what goes to the committee for consideration? Right, Honorable Speaker, maybe provide some guidance on that aspect. I thank you.
Honorable members, when we reach committee stage of bills, amendments are open. But it's open with a condition that whatever you intend to propose as an amendment must be shared in advance, so that it's internalized by members, and then when you come to propose it, they can have a look at it, say, no, no, we have looked at it, it's okay. We have looked at it, it's not okay. Then they make the changes. The difference is when you just show up here, no communication to anybody, and you just say amendment. And the amendment is standing alone, not riding on something that has just been proposed. That creates the complication we try to avoid. These particular proposals were shared, and by all the members have seen them, and so it does not fall within the other one, which would create confusion. This one now has been looked at. We have looked at it. Our technical people from Parliament have looked at it, and that's why we accept that it can be considered. Okay, so the proposal is that, yes.
Thank you for your indulgence, from the Chair. Chair, we left this place yesterday close to 7 o'clock. And ordinarily, at least on my side and my office, we're not privy to this. Yet we had gone over all issues of this particular bill. And with due respect to the Honourable Minister, this House has two sides. And you cannot share by ambush. Because sharing by ambush is indecent. For one to claim that I have it on my iPad, it's not person holder. When I receive a proposal, I share it. I'm actually being ambushed. It's very rare that such, because the amendments sought are not flimsy, they are fundamental. These are not flimsy amendments. Very Honourable Chair, I'd like to make a humble proposal, because we are not considering these amendments and lock away the Act. The consultations made by the Honourable Minister probably avoided me, and therefore I'm unable to probably process them in a minute. I've just received this. In fact, as she read through, I was recording, because even when I left office to come here, I had not seen them. So I declined to consider these as shared by ambush, because indirectly we considered, when we were considering supervision, the participation of the two entities. We considered dual supervision, and a decision was taken on this matter in this House. It's an indirect way of introducing dual supervision. This time around, via an ambush. Honourable Chair, when you look at them, all that we actually rejected is returning via this. I need to be re-educated in that, actually. And I'm trying to understand, what is gender running away from? So reports. So what's wrong with the gender receiving reports and directing on action on them? The Minister of Finance, which seems to be a cloud hovering over gender, is properly represented on the board of the entity. So why are we preoccupied with the minister to mean the Minister of Finance?
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the document that I received, that's why I got my level of comfort that was proper. The letter that I received is actually copied to you. And among the people copied in, the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Second Deputy Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, Government Chief Whip, Attorney General, Finance, Chairpersons of Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development. This is what I received. That's where I drew my comfort from, that the possibility has been. But be that as it may, we took a decision on this issue of financial matters, investment matters, and so on and so forth, to be handled by the Minister of Finance. The overall supervision of the Act remains with the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Just like another aspect of this law is superintended over by the Minister of Public Service. So these kind of mandates are there, but the overall supervisory responsibility rests with the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development. So the changes that are being proposed is consistent with our position that in matters of borrowing, matters of audited accounts, and this other man should be left with the expertise of the Minister of Finance, who will then forward them for processing. When it's coming to the House, it is actually gender who brings them to Parliament. But the actual works are done the way it has been agreed. I think we have gone over this and we made some agreements yesterday, and we should not reopen this for discussion today again. We'll just be delaying the process and will not be helpful. So I propose that this amendment is in the spirit of what was agreed, to what is being proposed. It actually is implementing what we agreed, but putting it now in the law so that it is clear. So I would propose that we consider it as it is and see, does it conflict fundamentally with the principles we adopted? If it doesn't, we move on. Leader of the opposition, yes.
Thank you for your indulgence, Honourable Chair. We've been moving well, and positions have been harmonized. And I want to appreciate the leadership of the chairperson of the committee on these issues. I have not had her comfort whether she had consensus on this, and they were shared with her as a critical person on this. Can we hear a voice on this proposal?
Chair?
Which I do not regard flimsy.
Chair?
No, I just want...
Chair?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Chair. I would like to reiterate that the Minister in charge of Social Security and Labour will be the overall Minister. And for me, earlier on, I wanted this, like the Minister presented, to be just an in-section definition that is actually administrative, like Public Service does, Finance does, but the overall supervisor of NSSF fund is the Minister in charge of Social Security and Labour.
Okay. Can we proceed, honourable members?
Mr. Chairman, this is the reason that this bill, that the President did not assent to this bill. And I don't want anyone to hide. You see, someone can say the Speaker of Parliament will be the overall head of Parliament. He will not chair Parliament.
No, that will not be someone. It is the Constitution.
I'm just giving an example, Mr. Speaker, that he will not chair the Parliament, and then all the functions are taken away. It happened to me, if you can allow me, Mr. Speaker. One of the, okay, let me leave that. I don't want to follow the path of the Honorable Fox Odoi. But it happened, someone was appointed overall head of an institution, but all the functions were vested in someone else. The Honorable Betty Among, and I can see her conflicted, because the appointing authority does not want her ministry, not you as a person, but does not want your ministry to be the overall supervisor of NSSF. So that's why you are now emasculating it, while accepting to supervise but taking away everything. Mr. Speaker, I was a member of NSSF until I came to this Parliament. That institution has suffered of multiple supervision. And the reason finance wants it, they want to access that money, borrow it the way they like, determine how to borrow it. But also, Mr. Speaker, I am really shocked by the way this government works, even the things that are administrative. You in gender, if you want expertise from finance, must you put it in the law? I assume that, first of all, gender, all the technical people who are there are competent, accountants, and you have all of them. What does finance have in terms of technical people that you gender don't have? Don't you have accountants? Don't you have economists? This is trickery. That they surrender NSSF to Minister of Finance, so they begin accessing this money the way they have been doing.
No, a member shall not be permitted to suggest improper motive to another. The rules say so. I'm just restating them.
Mr. Speaker, if that was the implication of my statement, I apologize. I am expressing fears because we know how NSSF has been running. The fear is that the minister, you can imagine these amendments are 10. This whole list. Everywhere there is minister, she says, now we move, put finance, put finance, put finance, put finance. So for you, what are you going to supervise? If everything you are sending it to finance, what are you going to supervise? Is it the buildings or the vehicles? Because, I mean, this amendment is crazy. From where it starts, everything finance, finance, finance.
Honorable Minister, is your amendment. And the honorable members for workers who are always volunteering information, why don't you speak in these moments? No, now you have none of you have stood up, and you are here.
I would like to contribute to Right Honourable Speaker. Because
no, who is that?
Before we...
No, that's not how we do it.
But what do? We have been standing...
We start with the minister always.
I'm requesting I make a contribution.
I need to... No, I'll give you the chance.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, I want to start by stating that this particular amendment is not coming now. Recall that this bill was passed by the previous parliament, and the previous parliament is the one that introduced these provisions I'm reading. Yes, and I have it here. I have the provision of National Social Security Fund Amendment, which made proposals on 31 to 36 and extracted certain functions to give to finance. On the analysis that the functions that are embedded in this act first handles mobilization of workers. The first function in this act is to mobilize workers to contribute. When they contribute, yes, through our labor officers, through the government structure, through others, the workers' organizations, registration of workers' organization is done in the Ministry of Labor. And they contribute. When they contribute, then the other function is to make sure that their contribution is safe and that the fund has money to manage the fund. That is what is called the budget for the fund, which is still under the Minister of Labor, to ensure that the annual budget for the fund, whether it's a supplementary or any other funds, is managed by the Minister for Labor. The board is the supreme body of the fund, and it has been given to the minister responsible for labor to appoint the board. The managing director, deputy managing director, and all the staff of the fund are those that will take investment decision, those who will make sure the books of accounts are kept well before it is audited. All those functions are with the minister in charge of labor. The minister is the one that will appoint the MD, deputy MD, and all the staff. And the day-to-day overseeing of the management of the fund will remain with the minister in charge of labor. Now, when it came to those other functions related to borrowing, if the fund wants to borrow. They are saying, as the chair is saying, that the Minister for Social Security will still remain the minister. Once we have made a decision that let's borrow, then now the board can go to finance and say, we want to borrow.
Clarification.
If accounts, I thought I will get all the clarification, but can I first explain the audit? If the audit is undertaken, and in the Act, it is the Auditor General that will undertake the audit. That is where we are taking that mandate to finance. Interest on account, assessing the interest. Is it going to be 11% this year? How has the fund performed? Are the bonds? Because for you to declare interest, you must assess how is the investment on bonds for the fund? How is investment for securities? How is investment for housing estate? Then you amalgamate all the investment, compute the interest, and declare the interest. That is what we are saying we leave for finance. So those are the rationale, and Cabinet took a decision on the matter. It was thoroughly debated in Cabinet, and I provided the letter which I wrote. The letter which I wrote to the Speaker was copied to the Leader of Opposition, and I want to confirm, Right Honorable Chair, this letter dated 18th, submitting the proposed amendment addressed to the Right Honorable Speaker and Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, is copied, attachment as a Cabinet decision extract, and copied to the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Attorney General, Government Chief Whip, Leader of Opposition, Chairperson Committee on Gender, Labor and Social Development. And it is received. No. I want to read, because I don't like to lie. I do not want to lie. It was received on 19/11/2021 by a staff at the Registry of Parliament called Kitaka Wilson and Akena Lawrence. The numbers that they put as receiving the letters for Clerk to Parliament, for Leader of Opposition, Government Chief Whip, Committee Chairperson, and the person puts his telephone number, or telephone number 0702 100 999, and the number that received others, the second person who signed has put a number 0782 799 596. So I am no longer in charge of the administration of Parliament. I delivered the letter and it was received. I want to submit here.
Can I have the representative of the workers say something on this matter?
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Chairperson. I just want to supplement on what the Minister said. This has been a long journey to reach where we have reached. And most of the stakeholders have been involved. And my colleagues, I get your concern. You have been asking, what are you remaining with? The major overall body is the board. And also let's reflect that the main objective of the fund is social security. We are concentrating on money alone, but we are forgetting the major objective of the fund. And once the board is being appointed by the minister in charge of labor and employment or social security, then the control is over. Because it is the same board that is going to be passing whatever resolution, either of borrowing or not. Initially or formally, finance was appointing the board. Financing was appointing NSSF board was appointing Hubla. And it was the one now, the same player, borrowing, lending, and supervising. But now the board under the Minister of Labor is going to do the overall supervision. So to me, my major interest is not the money alone, but the objective of the fund. And secondly, if we go back to the 1980s, when the NSSF was formed, we were talking in terms of millions. Now we're talking in terms of trillions. So if we say, you deal with how to handle that money, but I'm supervising you, I think the Minister of Labor is still in charge. And I pray and plead that please support, because to reach where we have reached, a lot of meetings took place. No. I thank you very much.
I thought you wanted me.
No.
All right, Honorable Chair. First of all, for the record, whenever I speak, parliamentary staff come to say, what is your name? I'm by the name Mugole Mauku David Stephen, Member of Parliament for Kabweri County. I'm not a workers' representative in the House, but I'm a workers' representative outside this House because I'm the Deputy Chairman General of NOTU. And I've been a workers' representative on the NSSF board. What should I say in this particular regard? Number one, Parliament, NSSF, and government, we went for benchmarking last year in Ghana. You sponsored members of Parliament, a number of them. I don't see, but we had a number of them. We went to Ghana, the most well-run pension sector in Africa. And we found that Senate in Ghana, in fact, the law we are passing now is a precursor to the bigger law, in consonance with what Honorable Tororo said yesterday, Tororo woman, that even the public service need to be a contributory fund. In the future, these will be merged. Senate, which is well run, yes. Senate, which is well run.
Come to the point.
Yes, also reports to two ministries. The board is under Ministry of Labor and Empowerment in Ghana, but the financial matters, because of the amount of money, colossal sums of money, currently the NSSF 17 trillion is 10% of the GDP. And that is why Ministry of Finance must take charge of certain aspects. However, the audit is done by an organ which is supervised by Parliament. That's the Auditor General who does the audit. So there is no cause of alarm. We have tried to go around, and I agree with you, because for me I want to be open, Honorable Semuju. The President did not sign the bill because of this particular controversy. I don't want to say no, because he thought that the issue of money must be managed by the people who are employed to manage money. But in this particular regard, as long as the board, because I've been on this board, I have never seen anything sent to the Minister of Finance suggested by the board, and the Minister of Finance says no, because they are experts at the board. The board, so as long as the gender has selected the board, then I would just plead with you that we agree in this particular matter. The only amend I would say, Honorable Chair, is on the annual report, because this board reports to Ministry of Gender and Labor, and the annual report does not have only financial matters. The reporting in only that particular one in section 32(3), the annual report, after the audit has been done, it should be given to the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, either in consultation with that of Finance or to all of them. But that must be expressed in the law. I submit. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. By record, I am Werike Peter Christopher, Member of Parliament of Woolo West, and also the Secretary General of National Organization of Trade Unions. Before I came to this Parliament, I've been a high activist of this law. And that's why we have been forth and back. And what happened to the voters? They said, go inside and maybe speak from there, so that we're able to conclude this. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this in view of what the Honourable Minister raised. Yesterday, we agreed to apportion issues of finance to Minister of Finance. What he was just doing today, to be specific, that the following items, investment, borrowing, account, reserve, can I say that? They just go to finance. We are just aligning. There's nothing to me which is looking like an amendment. My colleague has said it all. We went with now, with the Honorable Musazi, we went with him to Ghana last year when he was chairing Committee of Finance. Parliament spent money. We found the dual system working the same way. So what was it that we were fighting much? We did not want Minister of Finance to appoint the board of a regulator and also appoint the board of NSSF, because there was now no separation of roles. And that's why we say once the UBRA is appointed by finance, that is good enough to supervise NSSF. Let the gender appoint the board for NSSF. And this is how we wanted this to move. I want to implore you, members of parliament, workers are crying out there. What we have said is in line with all this agreement. Allow this bill to proceed and we conclude. I beg to submit.
Honorable members, there's a proposal. Let's track it and see. There's a proposal from the Honorable Mugole that section 32(2) should be left out of the financing because it's about reporting. I wanted to hear the minister on that, then we see how to proceed. No, it's 32(3).
Thank you, Chair. Chair.
Is it 33 or what?
32(3).
33? Huh? The annual report is in 33, not 32. So 33(1). It is 33(1). That is okay. So those ones, I want to hear the minister on that. Then we see how to proceed.
The amendment proposed by the honourable member on 32, which is audit, we would agree with it because 32(3) is giving the minister a copy of audited statement of accounts, and already the auditor is the Auditor General domicile in Ministry of Finance. So a copy, okay, is domicile in Parliament. So the proposal of the minister is that, of the MP is that the report would, a copy of the report be given to the minister in charge of labor. I agree with that. It will not substantially alter. Then the second one is on 33, which is annual report, and his proposal is that annual report is not necessarily financial matter, and we retain that under the Ministry of in charge of labor. We also concede on that and agree to the proposal.
Thank you. Honorable members, can we take a decision on this matter now? Well, those specific ones in 32(3) and 33(1), or the whole of 33 anyway, remained with the ministry in charge of labor. The other bits that we discussed earlier is the one that will go borrowing and what goes to finance. And the aspect of auditing has nothing to do with the Ministry of Finance, and that's why it has been removed. It is with the Auditor General, who is directly, or that office is directly under Parliament. Are we clear on this now? Can we take a decision on this matter, Honorable Semujo? I'm going to call for a decision on this matter now. No. We have discussed it long enough. Let's take a decision, honorable members. Please, let's take a decision on this matter on 29. You had the proposal on 29? 29 is what? Financial resources of the fund. Annual supplementary budget, or 29, annual supplementary budget. So, Honorable Duke, what are you saying?
No, I was saying the same principle is under 29, and the proposal by the minister is not amending 29. So 29 remains the minister who is not defined, and yet she's attempting now to define to minister.
When it is just the minister, it's the minister of gender. The minister
even
in charge
for
of
supplementary.
The minister is defined. The exceptions being created are those ones now that they're saying the one in charge of finance.
Okay, Chair.
So if it is just minister, it is gender. I mean, it's the one in charge of labor.
Following her own principle that financial matters are with finance, here it will remain with gender.
Yes.
Okay.
Honorable members, can I now put the question to the, please? Can I now put the question to this matter? Specifically on the amendment as proposed by the Honorable Mugole to the amendment proposed by the minister. I put the question to the amendment that 32(1) and 33 and other aspects relating to reporting remains with the ministry responsible for labor. I put the question that amendment. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I now put the question to the amendment as proposed by the minister, as amended. I now put the question to those amendments as amended. Will those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no? The ayes have it. I'll now put the question to the overall proposal by the minister for amendment that it forms part of the bill as amended. Will those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no? The ayes have it. Proceed here.
The proposals by the minister are amending more than one section. For me, this is the first time in the history of this parliament that about 4 sections can be amended in an omnibus way. And I've been here for 10 years, but I was also here as a journalist. These things are amended section by section, but the minister wants to amend 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, and we have amended all of them. Now I am lost.
Honorable Samuja, we proceeded by these amendments one by one. And by the way, if you recall, there was an amendment that irritated me very much here, where the Ministry of Finance brought a series of amendments that was 5 times bigger than the bill they had submitted. And that tormented me. I was very, very upset, but the time was not there, so we decided to process it. That we sat here for 2 days processing amendments from the Ministry of Finance to its own bill. But anyway, the time was not there, so we had to do, because it was a financial thing about the budget, so we had to deal with it.
Clause 14.
Clause 14, I put the question that clause 14 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
Clause 15, I put the question, clause 15 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 16.
Clause 16, that stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes.
Clause 16.
I put the question that clause 16 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
Clause 17, I put the question that clause 17 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 18.
That clause 18 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
That clause 19 stands part of this bill. Those in favor say to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
That clause, yes, Honorable Chair.
Right, Honorable Chair, on clause 20, the committee seeks to delete clause 20, and like we deleted clause 8, justification is that NSSF engaging with third parties shall expose members' contribution to endless and protracted recovery court battles, which may cost more than what would have been intended to be recovered, and therefore be costly on the savers' contributions. NSSF should internally devise or improve its internal mechanisms to directly recover from defaulting employers. Attempting to recover from third parties may cause delays in the collection of members' contributions, as well as conflict of interest on the part of those executing the task of the actual recovery from the third parties. I submit.
Honourable members, the proposal from the committee is that this particular clause 20 be deleted from the bill. Honourable Minister.
We accept already, we had considered.
I put the question that clause 20 be deleted from the bill. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause
deleted.
21.
Clause 21, I put the question that stands part of this bill. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
Clause 22, that stands part of this bill. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
The schedule.
I put the question that the schedule to this bill remains as scheduled to this bill. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
The title.
I now put the question that the title to this bill remains as the National Social Security Amendment Bill, as stated in the bill, stays as the title to this bill. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the Committee of the Whole House report thereto.
Honourable members, the motion is for resumption of the House to enable the Committee of the Whole House report. I put the question to that motion. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Report from the Committee of the Whole House.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the bill entitled the National Social Security Fund Amendment Bill 2021 and passed with the amendments on clause.
No, just with amendments.
With amendments, I beg to report.
Report for motion for adoption of the report from the Committee of the Whole House.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that the report of the Committee of the Whole House be adopted.
Honourable members, the motion is for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House. I put the question to that motion. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Bill third reading.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the National Social Security Fund Amendment Bill 2021.
Would you like to read it? Would you like to state it again? It was not very clear. It was as if you were speaking in Lango.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the National Social Security Fund Amendment Bill 2021 be read the third time and do pass.
Honourable members, the motion is that the bill entitled the National Social Security Amendment Bill 2021 be read for the third time and do pass. I put the question to that motion. Those in favour say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act entitled the National Social Security Fund Amendment Act 2021.
Congratulations, Honourable Minister. Congratulations, Chair, and thank you, members. Congratulations. Today I will breathe because I've been receiving phone calls and messages from the workers of this country. Parliament has delivered on what it should do to grant the workers of this country, those who qualify, midterm access to the benefits they have received. House suspended to 2:30. What time is it? House suspended to 3 o'clock.
program lineup on UBC. Brought to you by Roofings, Strength of a Nation.